Right, hello and welcome to this week's angling blog. Today you join me on the banks of the River Ribble and we're in search of dace on the stick float. Slightly different to the normal blog this one. You actually join me at the end of the session. I normally do this at the very start, and what a day. It's been at times a bite chuck, feeding lots of bait, and the fish have been right on the bait today, and the average stamp of the fish has been fantastic. It's been a really enjoyable day on the bank, and it's a long time since I had a day's stick float fishing for dace that was as good as today. So what we'll do, we'll go back to the start of the session this morning and let's see how we've done today.
Remeber catches the big shrub.
Right, so that's where I'll be stood today. Got me keep net and my bait waiter and landing net. Looking at the swim, that's the swim that we're going to be fishing. And so we've got my uncle fishing downstream. Feeding wise, you've got some really good markers on the far bank on this one. I'm going to be putting my maggots in line with that green reflection of that shed on the far bank, and my hemp is going in line with that tree there. I'm hoping that that's where I'm going to get me bites. It's about 4-5 foot deep from about here out to there, so I've got a good area to go over, and it could be one of them swims where you get 2 bites of the cherry, where you go down, have a chance of a bite down there, and then come back in and have a chance of a bite again. But that's the swim, and that's how I'm going to approach it. Right, so set up for the session is my 14-foot drennan acolyte with my Shimano Techian reel, 4-pound 4-ounce float fish, and I've gone with a 10 number 4 wire stem fine tip stick float, and that is purely down to the fact that we're going to be fishing for dace and for roach, and obviously you want the sensitivity in the tip. The swim is only about 5 foot deep, so it's ideal, but you need the weight. Obviously you need to be in control of the river, and there's quite a bit of pace. It's a pacey spate river, so you need to have enough control in the float that you're in control of the river, and it helps you to hold back against that flow. Now, a river this big, I would always say use the longest rod you possibly can, and I should really be fishing with my 17-foot rod today, but style over substance. I just wanted to have a day fishing with the acolyte. It's such a lovely rod to use, so light, and it was made for stick float fishing, let's face it. Light, you can hold it all day, and it's a lovely rod to trot a float with. Right, so that's the side tray for today. So got about 2 pints of Cheshire Particle hemp, 3 pints of red maggot, obviously the catapult because you're going to be feeding a third of the way across, number 8s, number 4s, size 18 hooks, and that is the hook link that I'm going to be using for the first time today. Right, so just feeding in line with that green storage unit on the far bank, and these early stages just trying to work out what the peg's like. Is it deep? Does it shallow up? Are there any snags? And that's before you put your hemp in. Like I said, the hemp is what you saying where you want to fish, so you don't want to be putting it right on top of a tree stump or anything like that. So just feeding, and it does seem to be an even pace all the way through, an even depth. So just into the first fish of the day. There's a little roach just coming towards the end of the run, probably where you would want to get your bites. So just flicking out, just past probably a third to halfway, and trying to get a good spread of the maggots over that area, so you've got, like I say, a large area that you're going down. And plenty of knocks going down the swim, where you would think the bait is getting to the bottom. So I'm just going to start feeding some hemp, just so it goes down through the swim. There is a lot of fish topping all the way through. It's just about trying to get them onto your line of feed. So ideally, with where that first carve is over there, up about there is where I would like to get me bites, and if I can get the bites there, and I couldn't have taught that one up any better. And another, that one's a dace. That's a nice dace, that one. We'll take a look at that one. A nice dace to start the day. That's a lovely dace, that. So just beginning to get a few bites. Probably had about 5 or 6 fish. And it does seem to be in a nice area down the peg. Now, anyone that does any stick float fishing knows what I mean when it's a nice distance down the peg that you're getting the bites. And there's a knocks all the way down, so there's obviously a few fish in the swim. You can see there, just above or around where that last car was. I think 1 or 2 more people have arrived, so that was probably a bad marker. But had some 1 or 2 dace. That's another nice dace. And there's another one just coming on that nice distance down the peg, and it's another dace. And like I said on the last stick float video for dace, they're a confidence fish. And another perfect dace, not a scale out of place, and what a lovely fish the dace is. Ever obliging in all conditions and temperatures, and a lovely fish to continuing to feed the swim like I was doing at the start, and that's the key, is, you know, trying to keep the fish in the peg. What's evident at the moment is there's quite a lot of fish now on that line. You know, the float is rising up and down, you're getting little knocks all the way down. The better fish obviously coming when it gets down to the hemp. And then what is beginning to happen though, this inside line where I'm over depth by probably, you know, maybe me hook link, but there are some fish holding on that line, and there is a healthy shoulder dace in the swim, it looks like, and the odd roach. There's another dace, and the swim is absolutely black with them at the moment. So with the stick float fishing videos, they probably are the hardest ones that I make, really, to put together, because once the fish are really on the swim, you know, you can get a lot of bites, and it can be, you know, quite well, it is repetitive in its nature, isn't it? So it's, you know, making sure you feed in the right spot and the right amount, and then use the hemp to keep them down the swim. Once you get into a routine, you know, there's not much to it. It's just a case of keeping on doing what you're doing. So there is quite a few fish in the swim, so obviously you're trying to judge how much to feed. It's very easy to get it wrong and end up with a swim with no fishing, but early signs are that there are quite a number of fish in the swim. So, you know, the 5 to 10 maggots each trot through, you know, they are nice sized dace. So 5 or 6 maggots each trot through at the moment is keeping the bites coming, but it may be that you begin to up it to maybe 10 to 15, and that is why you need the 2 to 3 pints of maggots, really, because you can soon get through them. And that is a lovely dace, just coming a nice distance down the swim, and like I said, there's a lot of fish in the swim at the moment. Hopefully they stick around. And out of all the fishing that I do, really, dace fishing on a river is probably one of my favourites. And when the swim is like it is at the moment, you know, the fish are steady, you know, it's great fun. And these fish are just a bite of chuck at the moment. And I just load the GoPro on, obviously, just to give an idea of what the swim is fishing like. I mean, the quality dace. All coming on a single maggot at the moment, but it's a bite of chuck. Just flicking out, and the key obviously is to keep the feed going in, to keep the fish in the swim. And they're just holding just a nice distance down the peg. Like we said at the start, just wanting to get the bites, probably where the cars were on the far bank. That's a knock. There's another one. And another quality dace, a real good stamp of dace at the moment around the swim. Right, so the swim just gone a bit quiet and just tucked into a better fish. And I say, looks like it first better fish of the day that's, you know, been solid on the strike, and it looks like it's a chub. And that, like I said earlier, we said like pike could change how the swim feeds and push the dace out, and I also mentioned chub, and they're the fish that can also push the dace off. So we'll have a look at this chub. And there we go. A lovely brassy chub, and again in lovely condition. And like I said earlier, pike and also chub, a fish that can push them dace out the swim, and that explains why for probably about the last 10 minutes it's been a bit quieter for the dace. Now if there's a few of them about, I wouldn't mind seeing them. Barely a ripple on the water. Lovely conditions when it's clear for catching a few fish. That is an absolutely stonking dace. I'm going to give that one away just to see how heavy it is. Lovely copper colours on its head and fin perfect hen dace. That's a lovely fish, that. And it's fish of the day, that so far. And the last hour of the session, the fish really have come on again and getting steady bites. And the average size of the dace today has been really impressive. And so we'll have a few fish in that final net, and they've all been of a good average stamp. So, little tip, if you're going to fish for dace, always use a microbarb point. If you use a barbless, you're going to lose more fish than you'll actually catch. You'll hook them, but the way they twist and turn in the flow, most of them will come off. So a little tip there, if you're going to go out and have a go yourself for dace. I've just done a live stream on Facebook, so if you're on Facebook, check out the link in the description below. And you know, we do have a post nearly every day on there, or when I'm out on the bank, so well worth a like. And I'll try and do as many of the live streams that I can on the bank where I've got, you know, some signal. And on a day where the dace have been so obliging, what a lovely fish to end the blog on. Let's take a look at that final net. And I've got to say, one of the most enjoyable days I've had on the bank fishing for dace. It's been absolutely fantastic. And what a fish to finish on. What a river. What an absolute clonking river. Let's take a look at that final net. Right, there's the final net of fish. Just over £25. And what a day's fishing. It's been a while since I've had a day's fishing like that. And obviously there's a few roach and a single billy, I think. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that. Really did. Thank you very much for watching. Tight lines in your own fishing, and I'll catch you all next week. Tight lines.